Have you ever felt like you're giving everything you have, but no one notices? You wake up early, you fight through doubt, laziness, and pain, day after day, but there's no applause, no recognition, just silence. And in that silence, the question creeps in, is it even worth it? The answer is yes, but only if you understand one thing. Real strength doesn't need an audience. The strongest people don't shout. They don't beg for praise. They build in silence. And when the time comes, their results speak louder than any words ever could. This isn't a motivational speech. It's a way of life. It's Stoicism. And if you're tired of being overlooked, if you're done performing for people who don't even see the effort, then this video's for you. Because in that quiet space, something powerful begins to grow. You stop chasing noise, and you start mastering yourself. If that speaks to you, hit like, subscribe, and walk with us. No noise, no drama, just truth, and the strength to live it.
Number 1.
Silence keeps you focused. We live in a world obsessed with announcements. The moment someone sets a goal, they feel the urge to share it. I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. every day. I'm starting a new workout routine. I'm learning to invest. These declarations get posted on social media, texted to friends, made public like contracts with the world. But then something strange happens. A few weeks go by, and the goal disappears. The fire fades, the updates stop, and no one asks why. Why does this happen? Because the moment you speak your goal out loud, your brain gets a false sense of completion. You feel a rush, an early dopamine hit from saying it, but nothing has been earned yet. That's not just theory, it's backed by science. Psychologist Peter Goldwitzer at NYU ran studies that showed people who publicly announced their goals were actually less likely to achieve them. Why? Because the brain confuses the talking with the doing. It gets satisfied too early. This is exactly what the Stoics warned us about. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." That line is more than advice. It's a boundary. Talk less, act more. When we constantly speak about what we plan to do, we step into performance. Every compliment becomes a pause. Every like becomes a rest stop. And every doubt becomes a distraction. Imagine you're building a house deep in the forest. You lay a single brick, then run outside to announce it. Over and over. But by the time you return, you've lost rhythm. Eventually, the house never gets built. Now picture this. You say nothing. You show up daily, brick by brick. Quiet, steady, focused. One day, the house stands complete, and the house itself says everything. That's the power of silence. It preserves your energy. It keeps your eyes on the path instead of on the audience. So here's a rule you can use today. For the first 30 days of any goal, tell no one. No posts, no announcements, no selfies. Just write it down, one sentence a day. Did it watch room? No explanation, no drama. Just evidence for you. The Stoics knew attention was temptation. It pulls your focus outward. Seneca once said, "What progress have I made? I have begun to be a friend to myself." That's the shift. You're not chasing recognition. You're building self-respect. Quietly, consistently, without applause. You might feel alone at first. No one claps when you eat clean. No one celebrates when you finish a workout. No one sees you stay calm in the middle of a storm. But these silent victories, they matter more than anything. They shape you. They define you. In fact, think of the people who've inspired you most. Chances are they weren't loud. They weren't constantly explaining themselves. They just lived. And that quiet example had more power than 1,000 speeches. This is the paradox of real strength. It doesn't announce itself. It arrives steady and silent and changes everything without needing to prove anything. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, lived most of his life in poverty after losing everything in a shipwreck. He didn't rant. He didn't complain. He rebuilt in silence. He studied, wrote, walked, and taught with no applause, just purpose. That silence birthed a philosophy still shaping lives 2,000 years later. So ask yourself, are you actually doing the work or just talking about the idea of work? Are you showing up or just seeking comfort in the illusion of effort? Real change doesn't need an audience. It needs time, focus, and silence. Start today. One goal, 30 days. No sharing, no showing off, just doing. And if you fail, try again. But stay quiet, because the moment you stop performing for the world and start building for yourself is the moment everything begins to shift. That's when silence becomes strength, and your quiet focus becomes your greatest edge.
Number 2.
No need for recognition. There's a strange truth few people admit out loud. Most don't act because it's right. They act because they want to be seen. They clean the house but expect a thank you. They help a friend, but secretly wait for praise. They study hard, improve themselves, even suffer quietly, yet feel bitter when no one notices. At the root of it all is a quiet craving, recognition. But the Stoics taught something radically different. They believed that the highest form of virtue is self-sufficient. You do the right thing, not because it earns you approval, but because it aligns with your values. As Marcus Aurelius put it, ambition means tying your well-being to what other people say or do. Sanity means tying it to your own actions. The moment you need recognition to keep going, you've already lost control of your direction. This is why many people quit. Not because the goal was too hard, but because no one clapped for them. They were running on borrowed motivation, fueled by applause instead of purpose. And when the applause stopped, so did their progress. Recognition then becomes like sugar, sweet for a moment, addictive over time, but empty in the long run. Consider the story of Grigory Perelman, the Russian mathematician who solved the Poincare conjecture, one of the hardest mathematical problems in history. The world offered him medals, money, fame. He declined them all. Why? Because he didn't solve it for applause. He solved it for truth. He once said, "I'm not interested in money or fame. I just want to understand the universe." That is what it means to act without needing to be seen. The same was true for Amelia Earhart. She didn't fly solo across the Atlantic to go viral. She flew because it was her calling. She did it before the cameras, before the awards, before the headlines. That quiet drive, that internal spark, is what made her unforgettable. And that's the paradox. Those who need recognition rarely receive it for long, but those who don't chase it often become legends. So ask yourself, how many things have you quit simply because no one was watching? How many dreams did you abandon when the audience didn't respond? If your progress depends on being seen, you're building your life on fragile ground. The moment others look away, you collapse. But if you learn to work in silence, for reasons no one else sees, your strength becomes unshakable. What's more, when you stop craving recognition, your actions become cleaner. You stop performing, you stop exaggerating, you stop trying to look productive and actually become productive. It's like switching from being a showman to being a craftsman. One is loud, the other is focused. There's a practice the Stoics used to center themselves. They asked, would I still do this if no one ever knew? If the answer is yes, then the action is pure. It is rooted in virtue, not vanity. Try this yourself. Every time you finish something, reading a book, finishing a workout, helping someone, don't post it. Don't mention it. Just sit with it. Write one line in your private journal, I did it. No noise, no approval, just truth. Slowly, this habit builds a different kind of confidence. Not the kind that relies on praise, but the kind that comes from integrity. The kind you can feel in your chest when no one's around. The kind that doesn't need to be broadcast to matter. Seneca wrote, what is the point of having a quiet soul if the noise outside still controls you? The applause will fade. The audience will move on. But your character, that stays. And if your motivation lives in the noise, you'll always be chasing. But if your strength grows in silence, you'll never need to. So choose applause or purpose, attention or mastery, one fades. The other stays, one excites, the other transforms.
Number 3.
Progress is private. There's a kind of progress that doesn't look impressive. You won't see it on a timeline. You can't capture it in a photo. It's the kind that happens in the small, invisible moments. When you pause before speaking out of anger, when you stay calm during chaos, when you choose discipline over impulse. No one claps, no one sees it, but that's exactly why it matters. Because true growth happens in silence. The modern world tells you that if it's not shared, it didn't happen. You post your first gym workout. You take a selfie after reading 3 pages. You announce you're starting something new. But this constant need to share slowly chips away at your power. You're not doing it to build yourself. You're doing it to be seen building. And that's a dangerous trap. The Stoics lived by a different rule. They believed that the deepest transformation occurs out of sight. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Well, not your image, not your performance, but your internal world. The stronger that world becomes, the less you need to prove anything to anyone. Let me tell you a story. During the pandemic, a man named Michael was driving for Uber in San Diego. His income collapsed overnight. No degree, no connections, just a beat-up laptop and time. After one conversation with a passenger who worked in tech, Michael got curious about coding. But unlike most people, he didn't post about his new journey. He didn't announce his pivot. He didn't even tell his closest friends. He just started quietly. He watched free YouTube tutorials. He studied during lunch breaks. He practiced on weekends, built mock projects, and kept everything offline. Almost a year later, he applied to a startup and got the job. It tripled his old income. Everyone was shocked. They asked, "Why didn't you tell anyone?" Michael simply said, "Because I needed to learn, not perform." That answer reveals everything. You see, when you're constantly broadcasting your growth, you're no longer doing it for yourself. You've handed over control to the audience. Their praise keeps you going. Their silence makes you doubt. But real growth doesn't depend on reactions. It depends on repetition. A seed doesn't grow because it's admired. It grows because it's buried. Because it's left alone in the dark, pushing silently toward the light. If you dig it up every day to show people progress, it never takes root. The same goes for your habits, your mindset, your discipline. If you keep showing them off, you weaken them. But if you protect them, they strengthen you. So here's a practice you can start today. Keep a private progress log. Every night before bed, write down one win. Not something that looks good on social media, something that feels true to you. Maybe you avoided an argument. Maybe you walked instead of scrolled. Maybe you drank water instead of grabbing a soda. Small wins, quiet wins, real wins. Over time, that notebook becomes more powerful than 1,000 likes. It becomes evidence of who you are becoming. Not for anyone else, just for you. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And often that suffering comes from comparison. When you make your progress public, you open the door to distraction. You start looking sideways. You start asking, "Am I behind?" instead of asking, "Am I better than yesterday?" But the truth is, your journey is yours alone. Private progress is protected progress. So stop digging up your seeds. Stop handing out updates before you've built results. Let your habits grow in the dark. Let your mind sharpen in silence. And let your results speak when they're ready. Loudly, clearly, undeniably. You don't need to prove you're evolving. You just need to evolve. Quietly, consistently, day by day. That's how real progress is made. And when the time comes, the world won't need to be told. It will see.
Number 4.
No complaints, just action. Every day, people waste energy in the same ritual. They wake up and sigh, another day. They scroll through their phone, mutter about the weather, complain about their boss, traffic, the news, their life. It's not that their problems are fake, it's that their response is unproductive. They're pouring energy into noise, not change. Epictetus. Stoicism teaches that our suffering often comes not from events themselves, but from how we interpret them. As Epictetus wrote, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And yet most of us spend hours reacting, venting, narrating our frustration, but never solving it. You've seen it. A slow elevator triggers a groan. A minor delay turns into a meltdown. But what if, instead of reacting, we paused and asked, what can I actually control here? That simple question separates the strong from the scattered. Let's take a real-world example. Thomas Edison once experienced a devastating fire that destroyed his laboratory. Years of research gone in a single night. Most would have collapsed in grief. Edison, however, didn't even flinch. He calmly turned to his son and said, "Go get your mother and all her friends. They'll never see a fire like this again." And the very next day, he began rebuilding. That is Stoicism in action. No time wasted on blame. No energy drained in complaint. Only forward motion. Now contrast that with modern life. We complain about traffic, but we don't leave earlier. We moan about our job, but never update our resume. We say we're tired of the noise, but still scroll for hours. Complaining feels good in the moment. It releases tension. But that relief is temporary. Action, on the other hand, creates real relief. It builds momentum. It gives you back your power. The Stoics knew this well. They trained themselves to spot the difference between what's up to them and what isn't. Seneca wrote, "A man is as unhappy as he has convinced himself he is." In other words, our inner narrative either weakens or strengthens us, and complaining is a narrative of powerlessness. Every time you complain, you're rehearsing defeat. This doesn't mean you pretend everything's fine. Stoicism isn't about fake positivity. It's about clarity. It's about seeing what's broken and choosing to fix what you can without whining about what you can't. The moment you stop narrating your pain and start addressing it, your life starts to shift. Try this. The next time something irritates you, pause and breathe. Don't react. Just ask, and is this worth my energy? If the answer is no, move on. If the answer is yes, then act quietly without drama. That simple pause is your power. That choice is your freedom. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, faced plagues, wars, betrayals, and yet his meditations are filled not with rants, but with reminders to stay calm, think clearly, and focus only on what's in his control. He didn't waste time blaming others. He worked on himself. In your own life, begin to track your complaints. Write them down. Notice how often they repeat. Then ask, what action could replace this complaint? What habit could I build instead of this excuse? That's the shift from noise to motion, from emotion to discipline. Remember, complaints are easy. Action is rare. That's why it's powerful. Every time you choose to act instead of complain, you're practicing something most people never master: self-control. You're breaking the cycle of helplessness and stepping into quiet strength. You don't have to fix everything, but you must stop giving energy to what you refuse to change. That's where peace begins. Not in having a perfect life, but in learning to respond to life without wasting yourself in the process. So from this moment on, make a vow. No more excuses. No more empty noise. Just clear eyes, steady hands, and forward motion. Let others rant. You rebuild. Let others react. You respond. Let others blame. You begin.
Number 5.
Control what you can. You wake up, open your phone, and within minutes you're overwhelmed. Someone just launched a business. Someone else is on a beach in the Maldives. Another just hit their fitness goal. Meanwhile, you're still making your first cup of coffee. Before the day even starts, you already feel behind. Why? Because you're mentally fighting battles that aren't yours. You're trying to control a world that isn't under your command. Stoicism teaches us a razor-sharp distinction between what is up to us and what is not. Epictetus was blunt about it. Some things are in our control and others are not. The quality of your life depends on whether you can make that distinction in real time, because without it, you will waste your days chasing shadows, comparing your reality to someone else's highlight reel, feeling frustrated about things you cannot touch. Let me tell you a story. A close friend of mine once spiraled into anxiety after his ex posted a photo with someone new. He stopped eating. He quit the gym. He drifted through work like a ghost. I asked him one question. Can you control who she chooses to love? He paused. No. Then why, I said, are you letting her choices hijack your emotions? This is where the Stoic mindset becomes practical. If it's outside your control, release it. If it's inside your control, own it fully. That's the formula, but it takes discipline to live it. Because the modern world constantly invites you to focus outward, to obsess over what they think, what they post, what they say, and very soon, you lose yourself in the noise. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, surrounded by chaos, wrote in his journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That line is more than wisdom. It's a call to action. Because in every situation, no matter how difficult, there is something small you can still influence. Your breath, your tone, your next choice, even during great loss, even when life feels unfair, this principle holds. Take Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor. He lost his family, endured unthinkable suffering, and yet emerged with a powerful insight. He wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." That's Stoicism in action. The world may strip you of comfort, but it cannot touch your character unless you let it. So ask yourself, what am I trying to control that's actually out of my hands? Is it someone's opinion, the past, the algorithm, your ex's behavior? Let it go. Instead, bring your focus back to your own actions. What time you wake up, what words you speak, how you respond to pain. That's your kingdom. Guard it like a fortress. Try this starting tomorrow. Each morning, write down 3 things you will do that are 100% within your control. Not vague goals, concrete actions. Drink 3 glasses of water. Work on your project for 25 focused minutes. Send a thank you message. And then, at the end of the day, check them off. This simple habit returns your power, quietly, effectively, without fanfare. And when life throws something at you that you didn't choose, don't waste energy resisting. Adapt. Adjust. Act. As Seneca said, fate leads the willing and drags along the reluctant. You can't stop the storm, but you can learn to sail. You can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. The truth is, most of your suffering doesn't come from life itself. It comes from the illusion that you were ever meant to control things beyond your reach. But when you finally let go of that burden, something surprising happens. You feel lighter, clearer, and strangely more powerful because you've stopped leaking energy and started living deliberately. So, take the wheel, not of the world, but of yourself. And as you focus only on what's yours, you'll find something far better than control. You'll find peace. Number 6, no comparison, just growth. We live in an age where comparison has become second nature. It's no longer just a bad habit. It's the background noise of our lives. You open your phone and within seconds, you're flooded with images of people who look happier, fitter, richer, smarter. Their highlight reels become your measuring stick. And before you've even taken your first conscious breath of the day, you already feel behind. But the Stoics had a radically different view. They believed comparison was a form of delusion, a distraction from your real path. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." Kanajo. And living begins with turning your attention inward, not sideways. You can't grow anything meaningful if your energy is constantly pulled in every direction but your own. You see, the problem with comparison is not that you want to grow, it's that you start using someone else's timeline, someone else's wins, someone else's story to judge your own. And that mindset will always fail you. Because you can't grow roots while chasing shadows. You can't walk your own path if you're always looking over your shoulder. Let me tell you a story that might hit close to home. Paul was a line cook at a small restaurant in New York. Nothing flashy, no blue check mark, no followers. But he had a quiet obsession, sourdough bread. Every night after work, while others drank or scrolled, Paul went home and baked, alone, in silence. He spent years testing recipes, adjusting fermentation, perfecting crust. He told no one. He shared nothing. And then one day, a single photo of his bread went viral. Not because he chased fame, but because his craft finally caught up with the world's attention. That's the paradox. The more you seek to be seen, the less time you spend becoming worth seeing. But if you just stay on your path, the world eventually notices. Not because you shouted, but because you delivered. So ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you looked at someone else's success and let it steal your peace? When was the last time you said, I should be further by now? Not because you were lazy, but because you were comparing lives that were never meant to match? What did you lose in those moments? Focus, confidence, clarity. Seneca warned about this mindset. He said, no man was ever wise by chance. And then wisdom, growth, mastery, they all come from consistency, not comparison. From showing up every day with quiet effort, not loud announcements. The Stoics didn't count progress in applause. They counted it in discipline. Here's something you can try. Each night, instead of scrolling through other people's lives, take 2 minutes and write down how you improved from the day before. One sentence. Maybe you held your temper. Maybe you finished what you started. Maybe you stayed present in a conversation. That's your real scoreboard. Not likes, not rankings. Just effort measured against your past self. Because the truth is, you don't need to be better than anyone else. You just need to be better than who you were yesterday. That's enough. That's power. That's progress. And most importantly, it's yours. And when comparison creeps in, use it as a trigger, not to sulk, but to return home. Ask yourself, am I living my life today or someone else's? If the answer is unclear, that's your sign. Pull back, recenter. Get quiet. Redirect. As Epictetus said, keep your attention focused entirely on what is truly your own concern. Because when you live outside your lane, you crash. But when you stay in it, you grow. Slowly, deeply, meaningfully. And in that private, patient progress, you become untouchable. So from now on, stop measuring. Start moving. Don't chase timelines. Chase truth. And remember, the only progress that matters is the kind no one else sees, because it's happening inside you. Number 7, master, don't show emotions. In a world that rewards outrage, oversharing, and emotional theatrics, emotional restraint feels like a forgotten art. But what if your greatest power isn't how loudly you express yourself, but how calmly you hold your ground? You see, it's easy to lose control when you feel disrespected. It's natural to want to snap back when someone crosses a line. But the Stoics taught something radically different. True strength is measured not by the intensity of your emotions, but by your ability to govern them. Seneca once said, no man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. What he meant was simple. When life tests you, your reaction becomes your testimony. Will you crumble, lash out, complain? Or will you pause, breathe, and respond with precision? Let me tell you a story. One day, while Marcus Aurelius was walking through the streets of Rome, a man insulted him directly to his face. The emperor didn't respond. He didn't even flinch. His guard asked if he should intervene. Marcus simply said, he didn't insult me. He insulted what he thinks I am. And that is mastery. That is what it means to hold power without reacting. He understood that the insult wasn't about him. It was a reflection of the other man's ignorance. But let's come back to now. Imagine this. You're in a meeting. Your idea is dismissed. Someone rolls their eyes. Your chest tightens. Your ego wants revenge. But what happens if you don't react? What if you just let it pass and respond later, in action, not emotion? Suddenly, you're no longer playing their game. You're in control of the board. Because here's the truth. Every time you react without thinking, you hand your power over to someone else. Every outburst, every complaint, every emotional leak becomes a weakness others can exploit. But when you stay centered, when you learn to delay your reaction even by 3 seconds, you build something rare, composure. And in a chaotic world, composure is magnetic. People often confuse emotional control with emotional suppression, but the two couldn't be more different. Suppression is pretending nothing is wrong. Control is knowing exactly what's wrong and choosing how and when to respond. It's strategic, Epictetus. It's thoughtful, it's strong. Think of a blacksmith shaping steel. He doesn't slam the hammer blindly. He waits for the right temperature, then strikes with purpose. The same applies to your emotions. When you're cold and calculating, you strike with damage. When you're too hot, you burn everything, including yourself. Real mastery is about restraint. Knowing when not to react is often more powerful than any clever comeback. Now ask yourself, how many times have you made a situation worse by reacting too quickly? How many moments have you regretted because your emotions ran the show? It's not about being emotionless. It's about becoming emotionally sovereign. Your mind, your choice. Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. That reaction, silent, slow, sharp, is your battlefield. And if you can win there, you can win anywhere. So here's your challenge. For the next 24 hours, practice the 3-second rule. When something annoys you, pause. When someone offends you, pause. When your plans fall apart, pause. And in that pause, ask, is this worth my energy? Is this worth my peace? Most times the answer will be no. And you'll move on, unbothered, undefeated. This is the path of the Stoic warrior. Quiet, controlled, immovable. Let others scream. You stay still. Let others perform. You stay present. Let your silence be your power. Let your discipline be your weapon. And one day when the world pushes you, you'll smile. Not because it didn't hurt, but because it no longer has control over you. You don't need a crowd to validate your journey. You don't need noise to prove your strength. What you need is quiet discipline, day after day. So from here on, let your actions speak louder than your updates. Let your transformation happen in silence. And when the results come, they'll speak for themselves. That's the Stoic path, not loud, not rushed, but relentless. If this message stayed with you, leave a comment and subscribe. We'll keep walking this road with you, one step, one thought, one quiet victory at a time. Stay steady, stay silent, stay true.